The Independent Electoral Commission's external auditors have issued a disclaimer questioning if donations received by the ANC's leagues and other lower structures were indeed declared. The body has also vowed to take action after 474 out of 500 registered parties failed to submit audited financial statements. For more on this, we're joined this morning by the IEC's Chief Executive for Party Funding, George Mahlangu, joins us via our video link this morning. George, thanks for joining us. Are you saying as the IEC that in part this is due to a lack of training?
Good morning, Michelle, and good morning to your viewers at home. Michelle, when the law was implemented, which was 1st April 2021, before then we went all over the country training both represented and unrepresented political parties. And as and when the need arises, we will go and do the training. However, this report reflects that there's still more training that needs to be done, more especially on the political parties that do not have representation in the two legislative houses. We see, the non-compliance being vast in that particular area.
Take us through, just unpack for us the extent, George, of the non-compliance.
We've got two different groups of political parties, Michelle. We've got represented political parties and we've got non-represented political parties. But the political parties that were registered with the Commission at the end of March 2022 were 515. And out of these 515, only 15 are represented. So these are the political parties that have got seats in both the National Assembly and the 9 provinces, the non-legislative provincial legislatures. Now, the ones that have got seats, they get money from the public purse. So we'd expect them to have resources to acquire the services of professional auditors. On the other hand, the rest of the political parties that do not have seats, you have a few like your Action SA that has got sufficient funds to acquire those services. But other than those, the rest are small parties who have registered either a long time ago with the Commission, and some of them don't even have bank accounts because I think at the time of registration they wanted to compete for some elections. But when they couldn't afford, maybe their bank accounts were closed, by the bank. And a bank statement is a source document. For someone who doesn't have or for a political party that doesn't have a bank account, obviously they can't afford, to pay for the services of the professional auditor. So you get, different political parties who can afford and those that can't.
But surely ignorance at this level cannot be the excuse for non-compliance.
Of course, the law is peremptory. We are going to apply the law. We're just giving them, chance to give us, representations, so that when we have to go to approach the electoral court for the issuance of administrative fines, at least we can convince the court that we have demonstrated, we have training, we have requested them to do detailed representation, and then the court will take a decision whether those administrative fines are issued or not.
Yeah, and for our viewers who are wondering why this is such an important discussion, George, and this is why My Vote Counts has also gone to court. In fact, it wants the Political Party Funding Act to be even more stringent than it currently is. It's all around the possibility of undue influence over our elected officials, right? We need to know where they get their money from. But the question is, does the Act in its current form even go far enough, even though you've stated that there hasn't even been compliance with the Act in its current form?
Michelle, you get different school of thoughts around, for example, around whether the thresholds are too low or are too high. the civil society groups and the public out there are of the opinion that even the 100,000 minimum entry-level thresholds is too high. Mm-hmm. But of course, the political parties on the other hand would say, who can influence us, through 100,000 donation? So at some point, we need to find a balance, for the threshold to be acceptable to both parties. But as the Commission, we are the administrators and implementers of this legislation. We can't say 100,000 is sufficient or 15 million upper end is sufficient or not, because we don't even know how does it cost to run a political office. So those thresholds are left with, the legislators to determine whether this is sufficient or not.
Yeah, I mean, that upper threshold of 15 million rand, even 100,000 rand as the entry level, for those of us who think that is not a lot of money, it just perhaps shows how out of touch we are with the struggles of the average South African. But George, do you feel that as the IEC, that you have the capacity, outside of the parties being able to adhere to the Act in its current form, do you feel that the IEC has the capacity, the training, the know-how to implement the Act as it stands?
Yes, we do. We do have the capacity, and we have demonstrated that we do have the capacity. However, there are external factors that have got little to do with the Commission. That those who can't submit financial statements, they don't have the bank account, they don't have money in their bank account. Mm-hmm. There's little that we can do about it. But those that have resources, through our training, they have managed to submit, the financial statements. So where we are in a position to implement this legislation. You can train as much as you can. But as you said earlier on, those who are ignorant, those who do not have resources, the law, must take its course. Mm.
So you're saying, when the IEC does find circumstances under which parties don't adhere to the Act, that there's very little in terms of sanction that the IEC itself can take. It then goes the legal route.
Yeah, you see, Michelle, we must operate within the four corners of this law, with its strengths and with its weaknesses. And we pretty much, aware that there are provisions of this law that are weak. And it is a new law, to all of us. But we can't go outside the four corners of the law and implement what the society is putting us under pressure to do. We have to implement the law with its strengths and its weaknesses. And I'm living on hope that with the Electoral Amendment Act having, assented to law by the President and the independence coming to the fore, Political Party Funding Act, it's inevitable that it has to be amended so that those who will be participating at national and provincial level in a form of independent representatives, they have to be funded. Therefore, I'm living on hope that will give all of us a chance to have an input towards the amendment of the Political Party Funding Act.
George, let me thank you for your time this morning. George Mahlangu is the Electoral Commission's Chief Executive for Party Funding.